My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today is going to be the second half of the show that I started last week, which was 10 Easy Ways to Ruin Your Life. That was 1 through 5. We handled mainly the financial aspect and how to stay out of poverty. Today, I want to talk more from a psychological mindset. And I'm going to do this through the prism of paradoxical interventions as well, just like I did last week. If you're not sure what paradoxical interventions are, please go to the last show because I don't want to explain it again. And people may have watched last week's show, so I don't want to bore anybody and waste their time. So please go back to that show and then come back to this one. So it's very important that you know what paradoxical interventions are, I think, for you to be able to take what you need to out of this show today. It was also brought up to me last week that if you are born into a negative environment, then you're more likely to stay there because you don't have good role models, and it's kind of where you live. You don't see anything that's outside of what your norm would be. And I actually agree with that. But I want to talk about it in a different fashion first. I want to give a story. And before I do, keep in mind, everything is based off of the titles of the show today, which should be Easy Ways to Ruin Your Life, or if you want a subtitle, Easy Ways to Make Sure That Everybody in Your Life Knows That You Have Small Penis Energy. So let's go with that. So here's the story. Let's say overnight, what happens is there's this big, massive garbage truck, and it pulls up to your house, and you're sleeping, so you don't know about this. It backs itself up. The people on the truck dump all of the garbage on your front door. So you wake up tomorrow morning and you're met with like 2 tons of garbage right at your front door. What do you do about it? Well, there's a lot of things you could do about it. One of the things you could do is you can complain for the rest of your life about how you were wronged. Blame the government, blame the garbage men, blame your neighbors for not realizing what was happening. You could do all that. That's within your power to do. What you also can do is you can ignore it. You can make believe it didn't happen. And then you can walk around it. You can sift through it. You can try to walk over it. You can try to get used to it being in your way. You could get used to the smell to the point where you just don't even notice you don't notice the smell at all. You think it's normal. That's just your environment. You can do all that. What you can also do is you can have a great victim story. Say, oh my God, you won't believe what happened to me. And then you can leave the garbage there so you always have that story to tell. It's like a scar, it's cool. You can do that. But there's something else that you can do. What you can do is understand the thought that it's not your fault in any way, shape, or form. But it becomes your responsibility 100% to change it. And that is probably the best thing to do. But it seems to be the most difficult thing to do because people fight for the right to basically rummage around in their garbage and they leave it there. And it just becomes a part of their life. So with that, again, today we're going to do 5 ways to ruin your life, or 5 easy ways to tell everybody that you have small penis energy. So number 1 on the list. Now, I would write this down if you want, because it's very important. So number 1, never, ever, ever take responsibility for anything in your life, ever. Now, there are some great human beings that have walked the face of this planet that have talked about responsibility. So let's listen to what they have to say. And being that you probably don't want to listen to them, we could throw that to the side later. But let's start with this. Jean-Paul Sartre, French existentialist and novelist. He said, man is condemned to be free because once you are thrown into this world, you are responsible for everything else that you do. So keep in mind that you are thrown into this world. You didn't choose it, you didn't pick it, but it becomes your responsibility to change it. That's why he says you're condemned to be free, because most people don't want to take on that freedom and responsibility. That's why he uses the word condemned. George Washington, you know him. He said 99% of failures come from people who make excuses and blame others. Again, people don't want to take responsibility. Sylvester Stallone, one of my favorites. I'm only going to take part of this. I wish I could do the whole quote, but I just want to take part of it. He says, you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you're not where you want to be because of him, because of her, or anybody. Cowards do that. Now, of course, you're fighting for the right to ruin your life. So disregard people like George Washington, Sylvester Stallone, all these people that know something about taking responsibility, ditch it. What you really want to do here, I've got the treatment plan, right? Because if you really want to go down that road of having small penis energy, this is the way you do it. Treatment plan. Increase your excuses. Increase your blaming. Be really good at justifications. Make sure you know how to scapegoat people, because this won't just give you a bad life. It can give everybody a bad life. That was the whole thing about the Holocaust, right? It was scapegoating a group of people because other people felt bad about themselves and didn't want to take on the responsibility. So they said other people were the cause of their hurt and pain. So again, scapegoating is a really good one for you if you want to ruin your life, because it's like ruining your life on steroids, because you get to ruin everybody else's life as well. People are really good at that. Continuing on with your treatment plan, always finger point. That's a good one. Make sure that you're doing this instead of looking at yourself. And the benefit here are amazing. Lots of benefits. You'll never have to face your fears. You won't have to face your incompetence, your inadequacies, and you can funnel all of your disappointment, anger, and rage into hating and hurting other people. And that's what'll happen. And if you do that, again, you're on your way to ruining your life and showing everybody around you that you're not much more than small penis energy. So let's look at number 2 on how to ruin your life. Very important. Always let your past mistakes and adversities define you. You have to do that. So today I'm wearing a shirt. What we have here is superheroes. And it's interesting, right? Because it says gifted. You know, if you look at superheroes, it's not about all their superpowers. What made all these superhero characters what they were is going through massive amount of adversity when they were young. I'm not going to go over them all, but you know this, right? All of these people, all of the characters were written with the fact that they had to overcome adversities. But you don't want to look at that. So just let me cover this up, because you don't want to be influenced by superheroes, right? We don't want to do that. So let's move on from that. Let me give you a couple of quotes about people who do know a thing or two about making mistakes and overcoming adversity. So let's take a look at Paul Bear Bryant, one of the best football coaches who's ever lived. And he's taken thousands of people from low socioeconomic areas and put them all on the team and made them all work together as one unit. And he's made thousands of people graduate college who barely knew how to read at some point in their life. But don't worry, you're probably smarter than him. So let's just go over this. He says that when you make a mistake, there are only 3 things that you should ever do about it. Number 1, admit it. Number 2, learn from it. And number 3, do not repeat it. Let's talk about Bob Dylan for a second. He's had a huge musical career, over almost 60 years. And he won a Nobel Prize for literature. But don't worry, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what he says? He says, there's no success like failure. And failure is no success at all. Now, what he means by that is, it's successful if you try hard and you put your effort out there and you fail. That's a success because you're giving it your best shot. But failure is no success at all, meaning that if you fail and you quit at that time, that's not a success. So you need to keep trying afterwards. Here's another one. Don't whine for your life to get easier. Start making yourself stronger. Oh, that one's from me. But anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. Bob Dylan doesn't know what he's talking about. And certainly Paul Bear Bryant, Hall of Fame football coach, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So just ditch all of that. Here's what you really want to do. Here's your treatment plan on how to always let your past mistakes and adversities define you. You need to learn how to weaponize your victim mentality and your learned helplessness. Do not be a person who learns, who grows, improves, or moves on, or overcomes tough times. Don't be that person. You want to prove how worthless and weak you are and how much you can be by never trying. And you want to blame everybody else. Allow yourself to be kicked around by those who are born with a silver spoon in your mouth. And complain about that, but don't try to get a silver spoon of your own. Trust that the people who live paycheck to paycheck, they also live from one disappointment to another. But that's okay. You don't deserve any better, right? You're not going to try any harder to do that. So keep telling yourself that you want to get used to the garbage on your front lawn or your front door. You can do that. Nothing screams small penis energy than complaining about your childhood when you're 48 years old. Let's move on. Another easy way to ruin your life. One of my favorites. Whenever you fail to do something that you were expected to do, or something that you need to do to get your life moving in a positive direction, I want you to use this excuse. It's a great excuse. You need to say, I didn't have time. I don't have time. It's important. Let's talk about some of the greats. Benjamin Franklin. He said, if you want to get something done, then let a busy person do it. Here's another one. Time is created. Saying I don't have time is to say I don't want to in a very disrespectful way. That's by Lao Tzu. But these people don't know anything. So continue to say that you don't have time. It's important. Adopt that phrase. Because number one, right off the top, it shows everybody that you don't know how time works. Pretty easy. There's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. There's 168 hours in a week. I don't care if you're Mother Teresa, you're Buddha, you're God, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I don't care. They all had 168 hours in a week. Oh, but not you. Not you. You don't have time. That's weird, right? Why would you ever say that? Unless you want to just show everybody how much small penis energy you have and you're on your way to ruining your life. So again, cultivate that. Use it as a mantra. I don't have time. I don't have time. Because the people around you, they know better. And that's why you're going to have some issues. It tells people that you don't know how to prioritize, that you know nothing about managing time. It tells people that you don't know how to focus, you don't know the difference between having time and making time. It tells people that you're lazy, that you're preoccupied, that you have no goals, that you don't value the time of others or yourself. And here's an interesting part. You actually think that people are stupid enough to believe that you're too busy, when in reality, you use your TV guide as a day planner. So again, just keep saying, I don't have time. Small penis energy, that's your thing. We'll keep going in that direction. Number 4 on their easy ways to ruin your life. Try to be as comfortable as possible. Don't put yourself out there. Don't break a sweat. Don't grimace sometimes. Don't strain or struggle. You don't want to do that. Here's what the Stoic philosophers said. A high-value person needs to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Friedrich Nietzsche, the greatest philosopher of all time, said comfortableness is a disease. Here's more. The only mortal creatures that are totally at peace, comfortable, and without anxiety, they're dead. And that one's from me. But I don't know anything. And all the Stoic philosophers don't know anything either. And certainly Nietzsche, the greatest philosopher of all time, he's pretty ignorant. He doesn't know anything, right? You know better. Let's just aim to be comfortable. Here's your treatment plan if you want it. Always put your feelings first, so when things get difficult, you have an excuse to quit. Cultivate an instant gratification mindset. Always take the path of least resistance, and make sure to never, ever leave your mother's or your government's breast, and live in the comfort zone. Show the world that you're only comfortable of small penis energy. And that would be your treatment plan. Let me offer you this too, though. You'll never be able to improve in life, but maybe that's a good thing to you. But let me tell you about weight training. Weight training is predicated on progressive resistance, meaning that when you lift something, you want it to be difficult. And when it becomes easy, you progress by adding more weight. Why? To make it more difficult. And that's the only way to improve, is to not be comfortable. What's the benefit? You get bigger, you get faster, you get stronger, you get more attractive, and you start to actually have a self-esteem. And you become valuable to yourself and everybody around you through progressive resistance of the body. Progressive resistance of the brain works by this thing called learning. And you can't learn if you're comfortable all the time. Why? Because if you open up a dictionary to be smarter and you only look up the word cat because you know what the word cat means, it means that you're comfortable, yet you remain ignorant. You've got to look up things that you don't know. You have to study things that you don't know too much about, that you have to struggle and strain and stay up nights even trying to learn. These are difficult things, but difficult and comfortable, can they exist together? Only if you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, like the Stoics said, and me. But you don't want that. You just want the comfortableness. You can do that. You can sit around and eat all day and not do anything. Be lazy all day. You could develop diabetes. Then say everybody, oh my God, it's a disease of comfortableness. Not all the time. I get that. I don't want to get into emails saying, oh, it's not always that way. That's true. That's true. But I've had a lot of clients over the years. You start increasing their activity. You start managing their nutritional program. And guess what? They don't need insulin anymore. Why? Because diabetes, for the most part, is a disease of comfortableness, just like Nietzsche said. Let's talk about butterflies for a second. Now, a butterfly, in order to be a beautiful creature, to be able to fly, to be able to exist, it needs to break through a cocoon. The wings get powerful and strong and are capable of flight because of the strain, the struggle, and the adversity to get through that cocoon. If you and your desire for comfortableness and I'm super empathic and I want to take care of everybody and make sure that nobody sweats or strains, you go over to that cocoon with a butterfly trying to get out of it and you break the cocoon for it to make it easy, guess what you just did? Those wings will be soft, flimsy, flaccid, unable to carry that butterfly, and it will not fly, and it can't find food, can't find a mate, and it will die. And what you will have done is killed it, because you're afraid of some stress and some strain. Look behind me and you can see Lion King and Lioness. What do you think? They lived in that environment and got to that stage because of an easy environment? You're kidding me. A Lion King is a Lion King because it goes through all that adversity to get to that point. That's what it is. If you were to take one of these lions or lionesses at birth and were to bottle feed it in a zoo, let's say, and then you were to release it out on the Serengeti, it'd get killed in a second. It can't handle the environment. And this is what we have in our country today, too. You keep babying people, they will never be able to be fully dependent. And what happens is you can walk down the street with your small penis energy going, oh, I wish I had a father, or I wish I had a parent that actually taught me this stuff. And you know what the crazy thing about that is? You can look at me and go, oh, you want to know who your daddy is? It's people like me. Why? Because I have a job and I pay taxes. And a lot of my taxes go to feed people and to house people that can't take care of themselves. Why? Because they haven't used their adversity when they're younger to make them more powerful and more strong. Like lions, like superheroes, like butterflies, and every single other creature that has ever walked the face of this planet. If you refuse to take on the difficult things in life and you want everything to be comfortable, you become nothing more than a big human vestigial organ. What's vestigial? It's something that has no function. A vestigial organ is like an appendix. You take it out and you live just the same. As human beings, we don't really need an appendix anymore. But this is what happens with people. Unfortunately, we have life is the most important thing, obviously. And people throw it away by being totally without function, without goals, and being totally afraid of life. And again, it ruins their life and proves to everybody that they are not much more than small penis energy. So let's go to number 5 on how to ruin your life. It's a very important one. Actually, they're all important. I don't know which one's more important than the other. They're all important. So number 5, never love anybody. And this, you don't want to love anybody because love can end and it could hurt your feelings again. So you want to be comfortable. You don't want to put yourself out there. Don't do that. Build this big wall around yourself and your heart so you never get hurt by anything. Now, of course, you're imprisoning yourself. That's a whole nother part of it. And you might have this thought that, oh my God, relationships end. Yeah, they do. It's called life. Buddha said life is suffering. Get used to it. That's true. But you don't want to do that. Just fight against all humankind. Don't worry about that. I think we've all read that about 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's about true. Is anything harder than that? Maybe. Do you ever think about the other side? How do the other 50% of marriages end? Because they do end. They end in death. Think about that. So no matter what relationship you get into, it's going to end for both sides. But don't let that stop you. Like, that's a reality of life. Don't face the reality. Just build this wall up and just hold yourself in. Because the only thing that's really worthwhile in this world, actually, from birth to death, is love. But try to deny yourself that, just because you might feel a little bit of pain. You don't want to do that. So let's look at some quotes. Shakespeare said, It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Great words of wisdom? No, don't go by one of the greatest playwrights in the history of the world. He doesn't know anything. Let's look at somebody else. How about Jesus? I think we all know who that is. He said, guard your heart. But somebody's going to get this wrong, right? Because Jesus meant guard it from hate, guard it from envy, guard it from jealousy, guard it from idleness. He never said, guard your heart against love. It's the opposite of that. That's what you're supposed to be going for in this world. But if you think you know more and your way is better than Jesus or any other leader that's ever lived in this world, keep going for it. Here's your treatment plan if you want it. You can ruin your life and show people that you have small penis energy by avoiding love, avoid romance, build a wall around your heart. And this will help you that you can never have any really good experiences in your life. So I hope this show has been valuable to you. Again, understand what paradoxical interventions are. And understand again that if you choose not to take responsibility in your life, if you choose to let your past mistakes, and maybe your past are not filled with mistakes, maybe you were just born into it. But if you want to let that define you, that's on you. If you want to keep telling yourself in the world that you don't have time, when every busy person in the world and every famous person has the same amount of time that you do, that you want to keep complaining, that's on you. You want to try to be as comfortable as possible when every living creature that has gone through adversity has become better because of it, and almost all of our great stories come from what we call Horatio Alger stories, from rags to riches, and all superheroes started from here to go here. But you can ignore that if you want. And ignore love if you want, because that could hurt. So that's on you if you want to do those things. So I think I gave you enough today. I gave you quotes from experts, and I gave you a treatment plan if you want to continue to follow that. And going back to the beginning of the story, if somebody dumps a bunch of garbage on your front lawn and your front door, what do you want to do about it? It's up to you, isn't it? I hope today's show was valuable to you. If you like it, please send it to some other people. I can use some subscribers. Thank you.